Another Milk Crate moment. I'm Jean Kuhn, and today I have with me Jennifer Harlow. And Jennifer, I don't know where you live. Where are you
Hi,
out of? What I don't mean your address. I mean, like, what state are you in?
Ohio.
Ohio. Okay, great. I don't know why that was so difficult there for me. But first of all, welcome. Let me just say that Jennifer is an estate planning attorney. I know you do some real estate work as well. And today we're going to talk about your business. But what I always like to start with, Jennifer, is what's your milk crate moment?
Oh, my milk crate moment. I've had quite a few, but I think one of the big ones is going through COVID and realizing that these things that I thought were problems for me in the legal profession, it's all gone. Nobody cares if you work from home. Nobody cares anymore about video chat. It's just amazing.
Right. I think that is a really great point to bring up, though. That now listen. I know right now we're 3 years right past 2020, and people are now starting to say, "Hey, look, you need to come back to work." Right? You need to come back to the office. We're paying for all this real estate that is sitting here empty. We might as well have people working in our offices, let alone at home. What do you say to that? I know this is not your milk crate moment, but we'll get to that.
Um, I say go for it. I think it's a bit of a mix. Some people do better in an office environment. I
Mhm.
do better roughly half and half. Um, right now, I'm in my office 3 days a week and work from home 2 days because my husband is the opposite schedule. So,
Perfect.
but it works for us, and it's great because when you're in the office, it's really kind of that kick in the pants to make sure you're head down, cranking stuff out, getting things done. Um,
Nobody's saying,
oh,
"Mom, mom, mom."
right. There's none of that. The dog's not barking. So it's good for me, anyways. I find it really good for deep work. I know that's a commonly used phrase, but like that deep thinking work, which as an attorney, I'm supposed to do on the regular.
Right.
Um, but I find it a lot easier to do that in an office.
I listen. I could not agree with you more. Right. That quiet. There are certain things you need to do in your business that needs focus, and it needs quiet, and it needs no interruptions. Right.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's talk about your milk crate moment.
Okay.
So, tell me a little story more than just working from home. Right. I'm like,
Working from
okay, that was a great 2.5 minutes.
awesome. Well, so before COVID, I'd been practicing law and I'd been doing some reseller stuff, um, eBay and Amazon. Uh, so what I found so interesting is I didn't really think to translate some of that into my legal business because all my information came from non-legal sources, and we have all
So
these special rules.
explain that a little more, because I'm a little confused there about um, reseller, and then it's like, why did you add the reseller to your law practice?
Well, because I had a bunch of kids and I needed time to be able to do stuff while they're around. And that was a lot easier than being able to sit down and do quiet, uninterrupted work.
Oh, so
So,
it was a revenue stream that you could
yeah,
do when you were spending the time with your kids, that you
yeah,
where you weren't having that quiet time. Okay, I get it now.
yeah, yeah,
All
yeah.
right. So tell me a little bit more about the resale piece.
Um, we were really, really successful. I learned so much about business and doing the very boring things about business, like tracking numbers, these fun words, key performance indicators, and return on investment, and like really understood what those meant, um, which are great things. But until you're living through them, you may not fully grasp how important that is to know where you want to go next or where you want to put your marketing dollars, all those kinds of things. And so just very interesting in how that transferred into my legal practice, because it's like, all right, kids are going off to school, we're going to do this and just blow it out of the park. And to be honest, I sat there and spun my wheels for a little bit.
You mean when the kids went back to school,
Yeah.
you kind of like, I think I understand where it was like, okay, we've been going like full force, right? We're going just to stay busy during COVID, and then the kids go back to school and you come to what, a brick wall?
Oh, well, this was prior to COVID.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, I'm sorry. This was prior to COVID. So yeah, so I said, hey, I'm gonna really full power this law degree that I have spent so much energy getting. And that was that my last one started kindergarten, and that's the year COVID came.
Oh gosh. Okay. Oh gosh.
So,
So as a
so
mother, for people who don't understand, and how many kids do you have?
4.
4 kids. So for people who maybe don't have children, what that really meant was like you'd been waiting for that 3, 4 years, 5 years, right? That you
Mhm.
could have 2 hours or 3 hours to yourself, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And then you're like, yes, shit, COVID, right?
Yes.
Okay,
That's
I'm tracking with you. I've got you. I understand that. So
that's
I keep going.
exactly how it was.
Exactly. So continue on with your story. Sorry.
Oh, so yeah, so what was fascinating was in all the legal circles. Well, first off, everything shut down. That was fascinating in and of itself. But when everything shut down, um, a lot of people in the legal circles were looking outside of legal things to figure out how to run their business or how to move their business forward. And what was interesting to me is they were reaching out to people that I knew from my reseller business. And I'd be like,
Oh.
what? Lawyers aren't allowed to do that. What are you talking about? And so it's very interesting. There was a lot of, I think universally COVID stunk, but at the same time, we learned so much. Like it just kind of forced everybody to learn new things and to reach out and expand. And that part was amazing to me. And I think that really gave me that boost of, oh, I know exactly why I'm doing here, and put it into effect. And um, what I didn't know, I learned.
Well, I love that. So let me ask a couple questions here. So when everything shut down, were you guys not doing business in the law office?
Um, I I was able to see clients. I could do some things, but the courts closed here where I am. Our whole court shut down for a couple of months.
So there was no Zoom trials or Zoom dispos- dis- disposition. No, I'm not saying that right. Depositions, right? None of that. Like
No,
there was no court at all.
completely stopped. Yes.
Wow. Wow. And I honestly, I don't know if that happened here. I thought our courts here in Illinois kind of really moved quickly to Zoom court, but I could be mistaken. It could have taken them a couple months to figure that all out too. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you as an attorney can meet with the client, but nothing can happen because you can't go to court and get it all settled.
That's right.
So what happened? What happened with some of your clients where, you know, and we were in a time where people were dying, right? They were dying
Mm-hmm.
of that. How did that affect you as an estate planning attorney when people are like, shit, I need to get my stuff in order right now?
The demand was crushing. So I, you know, you kept, I kept changing my system is what I kept doing. I kept trying to make it so that I could accommodate more people easier. And
Hmm.
then some of my higher planning clients that needed more time, I could make the time that way for them. Um, but yeah, some of it was hard. Most estate planning attorneys don't advertise that we do go into hospice. We do often see people in the hospital.
Right.
Especially if a family member has been a long-term client or something like that. We usually will do that, and we couldn't do any of that. So that was another interesting thing, was that people were panicked because if they got it, they knew there's no way that you were going to be able to see them.
So how did that then affect, things that they were trying to put into place? Those, how did that affect that sort of business for you? You couldn't go see them. You couldn't go to court to file their documents, right? What was happening then to your legal business at that point?
Oh, it was standing still.
So,
A lot of it was standing still. Yeah.
so and I'm just curious for my own personal nosiness, but when you had a client that you needed to see during that shutdown and the courts were closed, once you were able to go back to court and file those documents, was everything legal back to the date that it happened?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I feel a little bit better now, right? I feel a
Yeah.
little relief there for those people. Okay, so court's closed. You're seeing clients, you're busy, and then what?
And you just kept putting one foot in front of the other. The relief for me was when school started in the fall. We did some weird hybrid thing. I don't know, in Ohio, it was like school district by school district how things went.
Okay.
So we had a hybrid thing, but it worked, and it was huge. It was huge for us, but mentally it was huge for us parents too, right, as well as the kids. But it was we got it done, and I was able to keep tracking my numbers, and I could see where I had done super well and where I needed a lot more work, because of all of my tracking. So, which is fantastic. So what I've done since then is just keep running that up that tree, is going on that path and keep tracking and just doing fantastic.
So are you saying that the tracking piece is the piece you learned from the resellers piece and going
Oh
back?
yeah.
So
Yeah.
so you had the law practice, and then you're like, hey, I'm a busy mom of four. Let's just add another revenue stream in there so I can stay a little busier, because busy mom at home, working at home is not enough, right? So you're like, hey, but I learned this skill. And honestly, you're right. So many business owners do not do that or practice that skill. They don't know how important it is to track their numbers. So you tell me, I know why it's important. You tell me and tell everybody else why that was so important for you to learn that skill.
Well, so I could know how much to pay myself is my number one reason.
Okay, that's a good reason,
Right.
right?
But also, so I knew if I was turning a profit, and is this something that I want to continue? Do I need to tweak things, or do I just need to shut it all down?
Yeah, that is such an important piece there, because most people don't know whether they're making any money. I worked with a man, oh gosh, probably been 7, 8 years now. And when he became a client of mine, we sat down and I'm like, let's figure out what you're really earning here, right? He was earning 58 cents an hour profit, right? Because he didn't know his numbers, he wasn't keeping track of it, and he was complaining the fact that his clients, people didn't want to pay him for his knowledge and for the service he provided, right? And he used that excuse to keep his prices low until he saw he was making 58 cents an hour, right? Struggling to make payroll, struggling to pay himself. Oh my gosh, I think that's such an important thing that you just said there. So, what
Yeah.
else did you learn from being a reseller, or from knowing to track your numbers?
Um, Really, that's a lot of it, is how you think about your money. Um, Came across a little book called Profit First. It's not a perfect situation, but it helped me so much understand that, hey, you can think of it as buckets of money, and I want to use this bucket for this and this bucket for that. And you have a built-in budget at that point. You've already done some of that work. So that's a tool that I use that was incredibly helpful for me to get some self-discipline there.
Did you find out about Profit First when you were just doing the resell, or okay, so you started using Profit First in the reselling, right? And then once you got back to work, then you took it back to the law practice.
Yes.
I love that. So for the people who don't know, I just read the book not too long ago, a couple of years ago. Tell people what Profit First is.
It talks about how to get yourself to making a profit. I'll be honest, it's been a couple of years since I read it.
So it's really about,
I haven't gone back to it, but it's phenomenal in how you think about the money you're bringing in.
right. Well, it's about figuring out, number one, knowing how much profit you should make from each revenue stream, right? And then it's about paying yourself first before you pay anything else. So if there's not, so you pay yourself, you put the profit away and you still get paid, right? There's a difference between salary and profit. Yes?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it is. I have been doing that system for like 35 years, but I call it an envelope system, right? And
Yeah.
I just put money aside for every little. I have like 7 envelopes that I fund every payday. But you do the same thing, and you can set up bank accounts in your checking with your bank so that you can literally put your money in the bank and then you put it into each little bucket. Let's call it a bucket, right? So what are the buckets? Do you remember?
Oh, I have marketing, I have payroll, I have taxes, I have me, I have my salary bucket, and then I have a general overage bucket, which is a bit of, I have some other ones for overhead, and then I have kind of a general bucket where the other parts go to, because there will be little things along the way, and I want it to be managed that
Sure.
way.
And do you have a profit? Do you have a profit bucket as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, and that's kind of what I do, except I call mine miscellaneous groceries, right? Vacation, real estate taxes, and I just fund them with cash. So and then I have one called investments, and then I have a couple, actually 4 of them that I called jeans cash. So that's mine. So I love that. I love the fact that you set that up and then you move money into each of them. Now, do you do that after every single sale, or do you do it once a month, or how do you do that?
I do it once a month.
I love it. All right. So let's talk about your business. Okay. So estate planning attorney, what does an estate planning attorney do?
Well, I help people decide what they want to do with their assets after they have passed, or if they are concerned about incapacity issues.
Or if they're thinking of what?
Or if they have concerns about incapacity issues.
Okay. So
usually it's if a parent had like Alzheimer's or dementia, something like that. They're concerned about, what if that happens to me? Which is a legitimate question.
That is a legitimate question. And I'm sure you set up trusts for people, right?
Mm-hmm.
That they can save money that they would normally maybe have to pay to the government or go through probate, or what?
Both.
Okay.
Both. All of the above. Yes, there's a lot of different types of trusts that can be set up. The big one is to avoid going to probate court. I know Illinois is not terribly different than Ohio in that for an average smooth probate, it's 9 months to a year.
Wait, you said an average what probate?
Smooth.
Like, smooth. Okay.
Smooth as in easy. Everybody agrees on everything. Nobody wants to argue.
I'm sure that's it. They mostly go through that really soft and easy, right?
Yeah, nobody's ever upset or anything.
Right. Wow. Okay. So yeah. So how much How much money would that save somebody's estate if they didn't have to go through probate? Now I know we're talking about an estate here and then an estate here, but how much money on average does it save a family to for their heirs to not go through probate?
Well, what I usually explain to my clients is that if you own a $200,000 house, it doesn't matter if your mortgage is $199,000, but if you own a $200,000 house, you are saving at least $10,000 in attorney's fees from getting that house through probate.
Oh, wow.
So, and that's just attorney. That's not a realtor. If you have to sell the house, those types of things, it's just that's roughly the cost for a $200,000 house. So it makes a lot of sense to spend some money now to save money down the road.
Wow.
As well as it makes it a lot easier for your spouse or your kids, whoever your beneficiaries are going to be.
So
So
what would be one estate planning tip that everybody should know?
have one.
Well, tell us why. Tell us why that's important then.
Have one. Because things happen. I don't think they've cured dying yet. We're all going to pass. You own stuff in your name, and someone somewhere has to decide what to do with it. And doing nothing's always an option, and the state has a program for that. And it may not be what you like. It may not be that, perhaps you were in the middle of a divorce and you passed away. That spouse now has all of that. And did any of it get to go to your kids? And there's all these questions that can come up for people. So that's a big one for me is have something in place. Something is better than nothing. But the best thing is to sit down and have a conversation with someone and talk about what are your goals, what do you want to achieve, and what's your individual family situation like if you want to keep it within the family.
I think that's really good information. I think that's a really good tip. Have one, right? Have one, right? You may not have it now, but get one. It's so funny that people put that off to the last minute, right? And I'm not going to lie. Were you busy with that? When I did mine during COVID, right? We put everything in an estate and a trust. And why should people put things in a trust?
There are lots of reasons. The biggest one is you can avoid probate. The second one is that if you have incapacity, if that comes up as an issue, it is much easier for your heirs to come in and take over paying bills and not having to fight with a bank. Chase Bank is one of our favorites right now because they're just making extra paperwork and ignoring rules. I know big business, they never do those things, but it certainly happens. So it makes a lot of those things much simpler for the family members you'll leave behind.
And I think
when they're already stressed out and hopefully grieving. So
yeah, I think that's a biggie right there, that the family has a lot to go through when somebody passes, and why not make it as easy as possible on your family members, right? The people you supposedly love the most, why not make that an easy piece for them? So
right.
Yeah, I love that. How can people, if somebody would want to talk to you about estate planning or trusts or real estate? I know you do. What do you do? Closings and things like that for real estate?
Mm-hmm.
If somebody wanted to talk to you, do you work outside of Ohio, or are you just in the the state of Ohio?
I am just in the state of Ohio.
Okay. Well, if you're in the state of Ohio, and I know I have some clients and I know that they'll see this, if you're in this, what city are you in?
I am in Cincinnati.
Okay. If you are outside of Cincinnati or within the Cincinnati driving range, listen, reach out to Jennifer Harlow, right? Reach out to her to make sure you take care of your family. That's our obligation as adults, to take care of our families. And I don't want to have to go around and go fund me when something happens to my husband or one of my kids, right? We should be taking care of that ourselves. That is not our obligation, to take care of other people who don't take care of themselves, their families. So listen, reach out to Jennifer. Jennifer has an email address here, jharlow@harlowlawofficelimited.ltd.com. Jennifer, thank you so much for agreeing at the last minute to be my guest today, and then letting me put you off a little bit today to do this a little bit later than we had originally talked to. I'm really grateful for the fact that you gave me that grace today to push that back. I had something I really needed to attend, and I was able to do that because of you. Thank you.
Good. Absolutely. And thank you for having me. This has been wonderful.
Oh, good. Well, hopefully we'll do it again someday. So everybody have a great day. And keep in mind, what are your milk crate moments?